So what's up people, and welcome to my very first Warframe video that I've done in a really long time. Yeah, Warframe. Yeah, so Warframe was the game that I constantly played many years ago. And I played it for a really long time. Even now, it's still the longest playing game that I have in my collection. Even more so than Skyrim. And I played it for like 5 years straight. And in fact, this channel, when it started many years back, was originally a Warframe channel. But after about 5 years, I got really burnt out in this game. And that was around the time when Railjacks first came out. So my last video that I made in this channel for Warframe was around when I got my Railjack. But I didn't continue from there because back then Railjack was mostly a group mission. And I tended to like to do solo missions, and so I kind of fell away from Warframe for a while. But recently I started looking at this again. And my gosh, I really started getting into this game once more. And so for the past month or so, I've been playing this game quite a bit again, and trying to catch up to a lot of the things that I missed over the past 1.5 to 2 years. And so I caught up quite well as far as Warframes are concerned. I did get my Yareli. I've heard that she's not all that great a frame, but yeah, I guess it was okay. The quest was kind of interesting. And as far as the different Warframes, there's still quite a few that I need to get. Of course, I do have Yareli, and I got the blueprints for a lot of these frames. I just need to build them and go through that. But as you can see, Gauss, Grendel, those are around the time when I first left the game. And since then, of course, there has been others like Lavos, Proteus, Sevagoth, Zaku. And so, yeah, I'll slowly start getting these frames as I try to catch up. Now, when I first got back into Warframe, I noticed that the most recent quest was the Call of the Tempestari. I think that's how it's pronounced. And of course, with that comes the Sisters of Parvo. So I looked into that, and it turned out to be pretty cool because I didn't go through the Kuva Lich stuff, although it was around when I left, but I never really got into it, and I wasn't really sure even what to do about it. So yeah, the Sisters of Parvos was relatively new for me. And the fact that you could get some really cool weapons out of it, especially the Tenet Archiplasmor, was really interesting for me, considering my go-to weapon back then was the Archiplasmor. So if I could get a more powerful one, yeah, that was pretty cool. And in addition, of course, the new ephemeras looked really good. And so yeah, I decided that I would start looking into it. And that's when I realized that there was a lot of things to do. There was so much more added to this game. And it really made it interesting because there is now so much content in this game that literally you can spend quite a bit of time, several hours playing this game, and not even cover a good number of the portions of the game. And so the first thing I decided to do was to start with all the quests that I missed while I was away. So I looked into that. And so yeah, there was a few besides the Call of the Tempestari. And of course, that would be the last quest that I would do, and that would get me up to speed and would prepare me for being able to do the Sisters of Parvos. Yeah, and so there was things like the Wave Rider, the Heart of Damos, and a couple of others, and I was able to get through that quite well. And of course, that gave me the Yareli Warframe and a few other blueprints. But the problem was when I got to the Call of the Tempestari, I found out that it was a Railjack quest. And I haven't done any Railjack up to this point. Yes, I did have a Railjack, but it was in a very beginner state. And so I had to change my plans. Instead of finishing the Call of the Tempestari, I had to go and get my Railjack upgraded, which of course meant that I had to start playing Railjack missions. Now, one of the good things that came out of this recent updates was that DE, Digital Extremes, decided that they would help solo players be able to play Railjack missions by themselves by creating AI crews and a few other things. And so that gave me the ability to be able to start opening up the star map for the Railjack missions. And this was going quite well for a while until I got to the Orfix missions. And then I couldn't do any of them because of the fact that you needed a necromech. Yeah, I guess you can do it without it, but it's seriously a lot more difficult if you don't have a necromech. And since I didn't do much in Damos, I of course didn't have a necromech. Now, they were around when I left the game, but I never really got into those either, and so I had to go and get myself a necromech, which meant that of course I had to go to Damos and do all those missions over there. And so I spent a significant amount of my time after I came back doing a lot of the Damos missions, both the Entranti missions as well as the Necroloid missions. You need to do both. And yeah, that took a serious amount of time, but yeah, after doing it for quite a bit, I was now able to get to the point of being at the family level for the Entranti missions and the Odima level for the Necroloids. And of course that gave me the ability to get all the components I needed to make the necromechs, right? So now I have both of them. I've been spending most of my time developing Voldrick, but I do also have the Bone Widow. And yeah, they're pretty good. After using them for a while, I do find that they are useful. And they did help me in the Operation Plague Star that recently was on, just a few weeks back. And so yeah, these necromechs, I think I will spend a little bit more time in the future building these necromechs out. But it was really nice because now I could go back and do the Orfix missions in the Railjack star chart. And so now, after doing quite a few of these Railjack missions, I did open up the star chart up to about Neptune. Yeah, the Orfix mission, even now, with the necromech, is still giving me a little bit of a problem. I'm going to have to level up my necromech a little bit more. I do have some of the other places open, or at least starting to be open, like Pluto, as well as, the Void. But I'm not about to go to the Void yet, because I don't think the Railjack is at the level that I can really do my Void missions there so far. Now, as far as the Railjack is concerned, I have been leveling it up as I kept on opening up the star chart, and it's looking pretty good now. I did put the Call of the Tempest Starry skin onto the Railjack, and I think it looks pretty nice with its weird foggy kind of look. And as far as the capabilities, well, I've gotten to the point where I have all of my equipment up to Mark IIIs. They're just standard vanilla Mark IIIs rather than the stuff that you could collect while you're doing the missions, but I find that they're actually pretty darn good. And I have been able to get AIs to work for me, and the gunner is a godsend. My gosh, the gunner is a godsend. It's the only reason I've been able to open up the star chart at all. And the other ones, like the engineer, is pretty good. And of course, now I have a sister as my defense unit. And yeah, so I'm already doing the Sisters of Parvos. And like an idiot, I didn't vanquish the very first sister that I got, and I basically kept her. And I didn't realize that you can't really get rid of her unless you trade her. And I'm not sure if anybody will really want this sister, because the weapon that you could get with this is a Tenet Archiplasmor with a Radiation Edition, which of course doesn't really sound all that attractive. And it's not the most powerful Radiation Edition as well. It's only like 26% or something like that. And so I guess I'll keep her. And so yeah, with the Railjack missions going well, with the necromechs going well, I was basically ready to go do the Sisters of Parvos mission a few weeks back. And I did even get those Granum Void coins that are necessary to be able to do the Sisters of Parvos. Well, what I find out that to be able to vanquish the Sisters, I have to be able to get some murmurs, and to get murmurs, I have to be able to get Requiem relics. Yeah, those were new to me, and I didn't even realize that there were things called Requiem relics, and the only way you could farm them is through Kuva Missions. And I hate Kuva Missions, you know? I never even did Kuva Flood, and Kuva Flood seems to be the only mission where you're guaranteed a Requiem relic. Well, what's nice is that recently when I started coming back, I don't know, maybe it's because I've done Zenuric for such a long time and got used to jumping in and out of the frame, or that maybe after taking a break it just felt better, or maybe I just got better at being able to catch these Kuva clouds. Yeah, these Kuva missions became much easier. Now, there is one thing that I found that made these Kuva missions easier. I'll make a video on that later. But yeah, I mean, these Kuva missions became easier, and because of that, I was able to farm Kuva and get the relics. So now I have a decent amount of relics. I have about 150,000 Kuva, and that gave me the ability to go after the Murmurs, which of course are yet another mission that you have to do, right? You have to go to the defense missions or the relic missions, right, to be able to get the Murmur mods. And so I did those and was able to gather all of them, and that gave me the ability to finally go after the various sisters as well as the Kuva Liches. And so now I farmed quite a few Sisters of Parvos and a couple of Kuva Liches, and things have been going pretty well. I do have a Tenet Archiplasma now, as well as a Tenet Flux Rifle. They're both magnetic editions, and the Tenet Archiplasma is almost 57%, if I remember right, magnetic. And so it's a pretty good weapon. The only reason they're magnetic is because right now I'm trying to farm for the magnetic ephemeras, and so I just happen to get those. I'll eventually go after heat or toxin and probably switch it around later on, which is really nice that DE lets us do that. And in addition, I have all these other Tenet weapons that I haven't even taken out of the foundry because I just keep on gathering them so much. And so I'll continue to farm these sisters and these Kuva Liches. I do have to get a Kuva Nucor. I hear that that's a really good secondary. I'd like to compare it with my Spore Lacer kit gun that I find really, really good. And I also want to get the remaining ephemeras as well. And so I'll continue to do that. And so this is pretty amazing, this game. There's so much to do, even just to go after the sisters, and that doesn't include any of this other stuff, such as the Steel Run. So I've been doing that as well. And of course, to do the Steel Run, I'll probably have to seriously look into my weapons and format them quite a bit, which means I have to spend quite a bit of time gathering forma as well. But yeah, I've started on the Steel Run, and aside from that, of course, there's the arbitration, and aside from that, there's of course all the other standard stuff that I did in the past, right? The Arcwing, the regular missions, the weekly missions, the monthly missions, Nightwave, as well as the Eidolons, as well as Profit Taker, and all the other stuff that comes along, including fashion framing, right? And so, yeah, I find Warframe to be very enjoyable. I mean, this is a free-to-play game, and as much as people will say, yeah, it's pay to win, it's pay to play, I don't really think so. I haven't really paid all that much, with the exception of a couple of things. I once bought Platinum, not because I needed it, but because I wanted to pay back and say thank you to DE. And the other is, the Tenogen stuff, right? Which I find is very enjoyable and it's worth buying. And so, yeah, I'll continue to do that. I'll continue to play Warframe. And I'll probably make a few videos. Not as much as I used to, but yeah, I enjoy playing this game again. So it's really nice coming back to this game. There's just so much to do. And if any of you viewers have never played Warframe, I would suggest you try it. It's relatively straightforward. And the one advice I would tell you is, because there's so much to do, and so much of it involves grinding, don't worry about how far you've gone. Don't worry about whether you can get to the sisters like I've done. Just enjoy the game. Enjoy playing the game. And if you keep on playing it, things will naturally happen. And so, yeah, I'll continue to play Warframe. I'm glad I came back. I'm glad I took a break. And yeah, that is my most recent video. So thank you very much for watching. I'll make a few Warframe videos in the future. I hope you join me at that time. And until then, happy hunting. And as always, Jaya, nice day, everyone.